All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Passive House Conference, and thanks for joining this session today. I'm recording from my beautiful garage, as we all still in stage 4, lockdown, and kids at home and dogs at home, so there is no space for me to record this in peace inside. Pre-recorded message. It's a little bit odd. It's very new, but this will potentially be the future, and probably not the last time that we've seen conferences held this way. There is still a way to interact, so you can actually, as you're watching this link, ask questions, and there will be a chance to answer as many questions as possible. Equally happy to hang around. I am in the background whilst you're watching this, so I'm happy to answer questions as well. Now, I'd like to thank the Passive House Association for having me and for keeping this event alive. I mean, it's just a tremendous effort going in this to take this whole thing online and reacting and dealing with the situation that we're facing at the moment. So well done, guys, and thanks for having me. So now allow me to formally introduce myself. I am Burkhard Hansen, Managing Director of Carbon Light. So Carbon Light is a medium-sized home builder specializing in ultra energy efficient and passive house construction. Okay, so the Passive House Conference and today's subject in particular is very near and dear to my heart. In my presentation today, you will hear the word efficiency quite a few times, and that's not only because I've been brainwashed since the age of 4 growing up in Germany. It is also because it relates to the manufacturing and construction methodology as well as energy efficiency. Okay, so this will come up a few times. Now, we're talking today about the affordable passive house solution. Okay, the affordable passive house. Now, some of you immediately go, oh, okay, there seems to be a bit of a contradiction here, affordable and passive house. Now, some of you might not like hear it, but there is that stigma to it that passive house is expensive, right? A lot of people think because it's passive house, it must be the high end of the scale. That is unfortunately what it is, right? I'm here today to address this thing. I am going to talk to you about a few ways that will reduce the cost of passive house. Okay. However, I can't do this by myself. I will need your help. I need you to come with me on this journey. Okay. In short, or in simple terms, is you have to want to do it. Okay. So this is going to be important. So is there a contradiction in terms? Absolutely not. Absolutely not at all. I've been to many passive house conferences before, and there is a lot of builders, tradespeople, owner builders, suppliers, designers, architects, across the board, whole range of people. One thing in common though, we all got a passion for passive house, right? We know something, or we want to know more about it, but we heard about it, we got excited about it. So we know that passive house forms part of a more sustainable future, right? Where to a more healthier and more sustainable and more comfortable way of living and working, right? So I mean, I don't have to talk about the principles. After all, you have paid money to be at the Passive House Conference, haven't you? So where I'm going with this is that the content of my presentation will be relevant to you. It will, but it's important, or probably more important, that it's going to be credible, right? I mean, why would you believe me if a presentation without credibility is useless? So why would you listen to me and believe what I say? Why would you have faith in what I've got to say? Some of you may know me and know about my weird obsession with passive house, but some of you may not. And you've got the right to question. Fair enough. Why wouldn't you? So to allow me to just give you a little bit more about my background, okay? And I'm hoping that this adds more credibility to this presentation. Okay, so by trade, I'm a master builder and a certified passive house tradesperson. I've just got about 20 years experience in the passive house industry and in prefabrication. So I was born and raised in Germany. I grew up and went through the German apprenticeship system, and from there on in, never looked back, never changed course. I've always worked in prefabrication and in passive house. I travelled a fair bit and worked in different parts of Germany, Austria, Switzerland, up north in Scandinavia as well. And my wife and I, after living in the Highlands of Scotland for a few years, moved back to Australia, to Melbourne, and we founded Carbon Light. So with that, we wanted to implement all the experience that we've collected over the years and that we've established over the years, and implement that passive house to the Australian market and to the Australian climate. So we modified it and made that all work and made that our business. That's about 10 years ago now. Now, above all, though, I have got something that is beyond passion for this subject. I have been working as a carpenter since I was 10 years old with my dad, and after I left school, I immediately knew what I had to do. I was very fortunate that I knew what I had to do, and I never look back. Even now, I can't think of another job that I would do if I don't do this. I know that deep down I've got a personal drive that drives me to change not just the industry, but change the way people live in their homes. I know we can improve lives physically, mentally, financially by just building homes well. And the building methodology to just analyze and know that this will work and will perform and will be better before we actually build it, it's insane. So I've been immediately addicted to it. The first time I was exposed to it, I just knew this is what I got to do. This presentation, this conference, this my business this is not a hobby. This is not a job. This is beyond passion for me. This is my life. This is what I do, and I'm very proud of you. And I hope this will convince you to at least listen for now, and then hopefully later on that you're actually saying, yeah, I'm buying it. I'll let's go with that. Okay. So if in my presentation today, I'm gonna share some of the key strategies that we're already employing at Carbon Light. Back to the question, why would I do that? Right? I mean, KFC didn't tell you the 11 secret herbs and spices, did they? Or Dyson sent a full blown breakdown of his vacuum cleaner and saying, "Hey, here it is." Why would I do that? And why would I share this principle? And why would I share these ideas that you're about to see? Well, like I said, the idea is very simple here. I do believe that there is a threat to what we all do right now. There's a threat to passive house. I'll get to that in a bit more detail a bit further down the track. And there is a way we can overcome this. But for that to happen, we need to all become a smaller slice in a much bigger pie rather than being a bigger slice in a small pie. Right? This is very simple. So all of us have got a common interest in passive house. Right? We're all here. We all somehow relate to the subject. So let's grow this market together, right? All of us, for all of our sake. Step one, right? I'm going to be the person that says that passive house got a problem. Not a very popular thing to do on the passive house conference, but I'm not afraid to do it. So I believe there is a problem. There is a threat to this, and that is the affordability. Okay, so someone said to me before, if someone holds up a mirror, never be afraid to look. That means for us to address an issue and deal with an issue, we actually first got to admit that there is one. Right? We've got to accept that there is a problem, and we can't just beat around the bush. We've got to name it, we've got to identify it, and then we can find a solution and work against that and work towards the next step. Okay? So does passive house have an issue? Well, let's investigate, right? Let's talk about it. Let's see what we've got. So every new product, regardless what the product is, has got a natural life cycle, right? Do you guys remember this thing? Some of you will go, "What is that? That is a television." Yeah, it's a. I actually remember that, which makes it slightly depressing. Makes me feel very old. It had three little buttons on it with three channels, and you could only turn it on and off, and that was it. And this is obviously the past. So if you look at this in a graph, it looks a little bit more like this, right? We've got the sales versus time. So there is the early period of introduction of the product, then there is a growth period, there's maturity and stabilization, and then there is decline in sales. Okay, in short, every new product is launched, they live, they wither, and they die. Sounds sad, but unfortunately, that is very often the reality. Now, the key phrase, though, what's very important is that it only dies without improvements. Without improvements, sales will decline. Now, depending on the market space, this might be sooner or later, but eventually sales will decline. So with improvements, sales can go up again, right? So this looks a bit more like what we're dealing with now. It's a television. Now, it's all fancy and it does all sorts of things, but it's the same. It's a television. The product itself has been improved and it's been modified and it's gotten cheaper and more available, and a few improvements have been done, and all of a sudden sales went up again. So again, in that graph, if we taking this across, this is, by the way, is just an example, right, to make this a bit more obvious what I'm talking about. So you get past a growth period into maturity and stabilization. That's where improvement is needed. This is where we need to act to create that regrowth. Okay. So what does this look like in the passive house industry? Right. This is an interesting one. If you I believe that's, some of you might disagree with me on that one, but I believe that passive house, as it stands now, or where we are right now, we are in the early growth period. Okay, so we are about in this area here. I hope you can all see that. So somewhere you go, rubbish. We haven't even, if we haven't reached the maturity yet, there's no need to change. I don't fully disagree. But my response to this is that we need to actually give the industry a chance to develop and implement ideas, right, to create that regrowth. We can't just get to that point just before sales decline and then go, oh no, now we need something urgent. I don't want to step on anyone's toes here, but the building industry, and correct me if I'm wrong, right? Designers, builders themselves as well. Let's be honest with each other here, all right? I'm holding up that mirror. And comment on the bottom if you disagree with me, or if you do agree as well. The building industry is not necessarily known to be very snappy, very reactive, very fast changing, are we? So I'm just trying to word this nicely. We put this in perspective with phones, right? Remember these massive bricks that we used to have, the mobile phones, till you being able to answer your phone on the watch. That has happened in a very short period. The same for computers, the same for televisions, same even from horse and carriage to cars. It's the improvement, the change is crazy, and the building industry has not caught up to this, right? So again, if some people might disagree, but that is okay. We at least we can then talk about it. Okay. The second point that I'm going to make in response is also that the passive house market is already being undermined right now as we speak. So why do we have to reduce the price? Okay, as we saw on that television, that's a good example. The regrowth was achieved by adding value to the product, right, through innovation, product development, and yet I'm suggesting that we need to find a way to reduce the price of a passive house. But to be honest, from a business perspective, it's not in my best interest to do what I do right now. It just isn't, because we've still got some way to go till we're reaching this maturity, right? But I believe that we just need to change this now for three good reasons, right? There is, some of you might go, why is he doing this? Why is he talking about this now? I'll give you three good reasons for it. All right, let's look at this in a bit more detail. First one, best to fish where fish are, right? So, I mean, what I mean by that is that we will actually have to, there's no point going fishing where there's no fish. We need to have to determine who we're dealing with, who are our consumers, who are our clients, who is going to buy this stuff. This is not news. This is, any product has to do that. So if we're breaking this down, right, and I've broken this down into 4 passive house market segments. They're just my thoughts, right? So again, you may agree or disagree with me, and that's a good thing, right? Let's talk about it. Comment, ask me. 2 heads are better on this than 1, right? I'm here, I'm listening. Okay, so, but in my opinion, I needed to start somewhere. We needed to break down who we're dealing with, who are we fishing for here, all right? So, first one, I called them the early adopters, right? You guys out there, some of you are the early adopters, and you're going like, oh yeah, oh that's me, that's it. This is other people that lining up at 2 a.m. at the Apple store to get the new iPhone, right? Must have it. That is what we're talking about here, and a lot of designers and builders out there as well, and suppliers. I know exactly what I'm talking about now. They're the ones that love passive house, and they just got to have it, right? The important thing to stress or point out is that the early adopters, in a large number of cases, actually can afford to have a passive house. They can afford to build a passive house. Okay, so if you think of solar panels, for example, right? The early adopters went, yep, solar, bought solar, cost a fortune. Now it's cheap, right? So there's different examples for this. I hope you're all getting who I'm talking about here. I think it's pretty obvious. Now, these early adopters are also the ones that drive in the first section of that graph that I showed you, right? So the introduction phase. So the wannabe adopters are my second category, right? These guys love passive house. They do just as much as the early adopters, but they know they can't afford it, right? And guys, I think you know who I'm talking about, right? I'm having discussions at least twice a week. That there is these people out there. They just go, oh, I mean that, yes, passive house, absolutely, love every bit of it. I mean, why would you not? It doesn't make any sense. If comfortable living, healthy living, very low or no energy bills, tick tick tick, right? Every box. So, but they know can't afford it. And just to give you an example, I know of who we're talking about here because I'm dealing with that, and there's a lot of people that are saying, yeah, new family home, a couple of kids. I'm just generalization note here, but just making a point where they're saying, yeah, we need sort of 160 odd square meters, and yeah, we've got $500,000, maybe $600,000. Is that enough for passive house? No. So they know it's not going to be enough, right? And these are my wannabe adopters. Number 3, you can see the chart is getting larger now because it reflects sort of the time in the market that we're getting to. They're the followers. Now, if you find yourself in that category, the terms that I've used here are not designed to offend anyone. It's not a bad thing to be a follower. This is not trying to put this in a negative way. I'm just simply trying to break down where we're at. Now, our followers are aware that there is a thing called passive house, and they're going, yeah, I mean, sure, why wouldn't you? Seems kind of logical to use passive house, and because it's better than the current standard. So, but they're slower to act, right? They're allowing the market to go first, and when it's all safe and there's a few thousand of them built, that's where they kick in. They like passive house, but they don't think they can afford it. They're not in a passive house market yet. They're not even ready to build yet in some of the cases. Okay, and just like any other market, okay, there's a traditionalist. Again, this is not designed to be a negative term here. That's not our market, right? So we need to be realistic about it and go, okay, like this is not where we need to go fishing because there ain't no fish here, right? In very simple terms. So let's to summarize this, we need to understand where to go fishing. The big ones that we identified here, and I think it's quite obvious, are segment 2 and 3. So both of them want this product. They want it. You just got to give it to them. But the main issue here, the problem for both of them, is affordability. Right? I think that's hopefully this has become pretty clear, because, and we need to act on this because the early adopters, right, our first segment, is limited by size. There's only so many early adopters there. They're going pioneer work and they're pushing through regardless, no matter what we're getting this done. That is amazing. And again, there is nothing wrong with doing this work. Title of the presentation though, affordable, right? It's the next chapter. It's the next step of a passive house. And where are we going from here? Okay, so here's number 2. This is going to take some time, isn't it? Have people going, oh my god. If you had an appointment in half an hour, cancel it. This is going to take a minute. So number 2, what we need to look at affordability in passive house. Homeowners have got options now, or homeowners. It's not just homes. It's other commercial projects as well. They've options starting to open up for them. Okay, what I mean by that is options that are not passive house, but kind of a bit better than what they had, so that people going, yeah, love a passive house, but I can't afford it. So this is close, right? And we know what we're talking about here because we've all seen this in social media posts and magazines. We applied some passive house principles, right? So passive house does pop up in there because it's kind of the magic keyword there that everyone starts listening. But we didn't get there, right? So we have to be careful here, okay? And some options from non-passive house builders, some often enough, people going like, yeah, our builders talked us out of the good windows or decent windows or U values. I mean, what's a U value, right? So you go, we don't need this here. This is a European thing, kind of people, then taking these sort of jobs out of it. So, and ironically, we're also cannibalizing our own market to some extent. Right? This is a very unpopular thing to say, but this is unfortunately what happens for us to secure contracts and build homes. How often does that happen? Right? Again, please comment on this. Tell me if I'm wrong. How often does it happen that you're very, very close to securing a contract, and it's a good home because it's got then some of the right membranes in it or decent windows, but it didn't go all the way. It didn't stretch far enough, and we're going, okay, well, look, it's better than what we did before, right? So it gets you there. This is a slippery slope. I'm telling you, this is going to be dangerous. Okay, so in short, we can't cut corners. Okay, we don't have to try to fix passive house because it ain't broken. And particularly, there is no need to fix anything or change anything through cutting corners. That achieves the opposite. That it leaves passive house with a bad name, if anything. So then you go, oh, we use passive house principles, but it didn't perform that way. And you go, well, that's horrible. So all of a sudden, we've achieved the opposite to what we're trying to do here and worked so hard for. Okay. So we have to be aware as well that others are taking our market. This is very much the point that I did make before. And I think a lot of you guys know who I'm talking to or talking about now as well, is that there is this effort that needs to go in to create a passive house. And then there is the price bracket. So then people saying, yeah, you know what, actually, what's the cost saving? If you just focus on cost savings of a passive house, you're going, well, it'll be X per year. And they're going, right. So if I just upsize my solar PV system, for example, right, it offsets the additional energy usage. Plus, my house is kind of a bit better than what it currently is. And voila, we've lost another contract that could have been a passive house due to the other people in the market cutting corners, watering down the passive house concept in order to reduce the cost. Okay, so this is dangerous, and we must find a solution for this. Okay, so point 2, okay, is about we need to find efficiencies. Okay, the finding the cost efficiencies will then need to be passed on to our customer. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the future. The new markets, opening up the markets, growing this pie is what is our future. And that is only going to be achieved through finding cost efficiencies, passing the cost savings on to the customer, making this product available. Okay? So here's how we're going to do this thing. I'm going to show you 5 collective ways to provide efficiencies to our consumers. Now, I will be releasing some of the cost benefits in later in the presentation as well. Okay, with some of the numbers that we have been done and what we are doing right now. Right, so strap yourselves in. This is going to be good. Now, efficiency is the big one. Like I said before, this is what I've been trained to do. Efficiency, efficiency, efficiency. Now, I've got some terms here: prefabrication, standardization, panelization, mechanization, implementation. Right, they're the 5 ways to reduce the cost. Right, and people, some of you probably roll their eyes right now. Some of you start going, oh, here we go, and some of you don't even know what the words mean. So, are there all of these words? It kind of starts being right a bit heavy, bit boring. Right, I get it. Let's just break this down. Let's start this differently. Right, let's use a real example. The old standard boring Lego brick, right? I don't know how many times I've used this example, but for me it's perfect. It makes perfect sense. So we've got a standard boring Lego brick. On its own, pretty ordinary, isn't it? There's not a lot of excitement going on there. Now, if we introduce some color to those Lego bricks, right? They're now different Lego bricks. Perhaps you start going, yeah, okay. If there's a bit of a range, we can be more creative with it, right? Now we're introducing different sizes to this, right? You with me? So now we've got different colors, different sizes, and all of a sudden we can be anything out of those. Literally anything. Like I've been there, I've done it. I've seen Legoland. I don't know if you guys been. They build literally anything out of Lego blocks. So, entire amusement parks are made of this. I've been to the one in what's it called, in Denmark. Unbelievable. This is one of the moments where it hit me really hard, where going, this is precisely what we got to do. So you can build magnificent bridges and churches and castles and whatnot. But if you use a sledgehammer and you break this thing down, guess what it breaks down to? Your little Lego brick, right? So it's not just a Lego brick, it's what we do with it, right? So back to boring. So if we look at this all boring words, are you looking at this differently? I'd be interested to know. Are you looking at this now, or are you starting to unfold your arms, leaning forward, and going, oh yeah, oh yeah? Are you starting to rethink? So because that's the key here, right? This is what I said in the beginning. I'm going to need you to come with me on this journey. We need to rethink that and think of it as the Lego block, as the innovative, creative Lego brick, right? We don't just see it for what it is, just see it for what it could be, right? So what would happen if we apply this principle to the passive house, right? That's the big one. This is so difficult with the crowd. You can't, generally people start scooching forwards on their seat, but now it's just kind of a bit of a monologue here, but that's okay. So guys, bear with me, all right? So imagine we develop a passive house Lego panel, right? It's something that I'll give you a range, and I'll give you different sizes, and you go nuts using your creativity to create whatever you want to create, right? So we need to exactly do that, what we've done with the Lego brick. We need to rethink. We need to create the innovative, creative passive house building panel. That's a mouthful. That we definitely need to shorten this. Maybe we'll come up with a name for it. But that's the approach that we need to do. So no cutting corners. All the points and the items from passive house combined in a panel. The requirements. So from there on in, you just create your shell in whichever shape you want, and we're off. Now, all of these homes that we're building, we don't need to compromise on quality anymore, because whatever Lego brick you're choosing, it doesn't impact on its performance. It just doesn't. It just is always the same performance. Okay. So here's how we apply this to our business. Now, KFC didn't tell you that, but I'm going to let you in to a few secrets, okay, and how we apply this to our business, because we had to break this down to be able to respond to the different segments of the different requests and requirements that we've got. Okay, so I think this is very important, and this is also where you see some of the costing. Okay, now the number one is our individual design and build. This is the homes that we've done a lot of in the past, and this is all also on current projects. There's a very highly complex projects. They are our first segment in the breakdown that I showed you. Now, there is nothing wrong being in this category. Okay, a lot of our clients currently working in that category because they've got very specific requirements of what they like. And this is not for me to put you in a category. I'm here to respond. I'm here to make this work for you. Okay, this is just to really break down and see where everyone lands. So in these scenarios, the panels are manufactured to suit your design. Okay, the cost simply reflects the amount of effort that went into it. Right? It's not as easy as start calling this expensive if there is a ton of hours going into this and modeling this thing and generating shop drawings and manufacturing, because there's little triangle curved sections or whatnot. It's just effort and time that goes into this. So the price reflects that. As simple as that. passive house shell. This is an interesting one, because this is basically designers applying our innovative Lego passive house panel, right, to their designs. So that means you can still have individual designs. Now, if we had to break this down to the building shell only, right? So if you think of a car, you strip everything out, and that's the chassis. The chassis will work of whatever brand and make you've got there, and then you can choose what color and fittings you've got inside and around it, and what sort of seats you've got in the car. This is very much the principle here. So if we wanted to create a building shell and a price starting point, if you have got passive house performance. So what I mean by that is floor, walls, roof, windows, and ventilation unit, all addressed in one package. Now, if you start on the outside putting extremely expensive $400 per square meter cladding on, well, that's your choice, right? That's I can't help that, nor will I want to get involved in that. That's your choice, no problem. If you install a $150,000 kitchen, your choice. That's fine, no problem. We can easily make that happen for you. But that's the cost that would happen in any scenario, right? Conventional or passive house. That's why we split this out and saying passive house, building shell only. Now, guys, this is a big one. We have gone through scenarios. At a starting point, you can create passive house certified construction system. So that means you can have a building shell that's passive house certified with the windows in it, thermal bridge free, fully insulated, airtight, glazed, right? And the heat recovery ventilation in it for about $900 a square meter floor area. Again, that's, I don't know, it's generally where people start typing their square meter and they're going, oh my God, I can afford a passive house. Yes, you can. Yeah, you can. Yes, one point exactly is that the concept or the principle, the shell, is not expensive. We can make that work. Now, if you've got an extremely difficult site, well, I can't help that. You know, we need to have some retaining walls. Everyone has got that cost. But the base package is solid and is affordable. Okay? Now, number 3 is a range of pre-designed homes. Concept is not new, right? Floor plan is there, elevation is there, layout is there. You can choose your color themes and some of the specifications, and then you have the land, and we put this house on top of it. Now, one of the keywords here is standardization, right? If you think of my collection of boring words that I put there, standardization. The cost efficiencies are achieved through standardization. Very, very straightforward. Now, these homes can be delivered for about $2,500 a square meter. Again, you know, it'd be interesting to see people coming out with their calculators or on their phones typing in, going, oh my God, I'll buy one of those. Like, it's an affordable home. It's not an architectural designed individual one-off home, but it is a house that's ready to go, and the price bracket is what I'm trying to bring across to you guys, which is the important factor here. Okay, just a quick one on number 2 is that the number 2, the building shell, is still a one-off production, but the design is influenced by a panel size, right? So this is the Lego principle that we spoke about. Now, strap yourself in for the last one. If you got standardized details and you add a large volume to it, we're working on projects that I am unfortunately right now I'm not allowed to talk about, but I will very soon. Is a large volume, so townhouse developments. Now, these townhouse developments can deliver carbon neutral, passive house plus, right? Not just passive, but passive house plus, and passive. For $2,000 a square meter. Got so excited I missed my own point then. For $2,000 a square meter, that's on par and it beats some of the conventional townhouse prices. Right, so this is what it is. It's there. It's possible. But all the cost savings are achieved through the terms that I've thrown up on the wall earlier, right? On the wall, we're not in a room, sorry, we're obviously on your screen. So the standardization of it and the mass manufacturing of it, the high volume, right? The Lego principle, that's the one. So if we put in this all together and we are adding some passive house terminology to it, then how do we do it? Well, high performance, right? We wanted to create ultra energy efficient, resilient homes that are fit for purpose. What does that mean? Well, again, fight me on this, argue with me, but the houses that are currently built to code compliant, right, legal, are not fit for purpose. If you get too hot, too cold, or sick in your house because there's mold, that is not fit for purpose, particularly in the 21st century. It's crazy. So fit for purpose, we mean just simply, and passive house ticks every single box that we need to tick. So that is what we wanted to achieve by that. We're achieving that through a passive house certified system. So we're not having to go shopping and using different bits and pieces and streamline this process. So our construction system is fully insulated, thermal bridge free, airtight, glazed well, and then you add the heat recovery ventilation in it, and you've got a solution. The next one is one that not many of, or some people might not like here, and some people will applaud me for it at home in your living areas or wherever you're watching this. It doesn't make sense to create an energy efficient home using materials that have got a huge embodied energy and a massive carbon footprint. That means you would have to have 1.5 generations of people living in this thing, saving energy just to get back down to zero. So correct me if I'm wrong here, but that defeats the purpose. And we can't keep manufacturing products under the cover of saying, yeah, well, we're making great energy efficient buildings out of it. It defeats the purpose. We don't have the time when it comes to the global impact on this, or the environmental impact. Affordability is, for me, again, there's a lot of people that might disagree with me, but that's my personal stand on this, and I'm speaking on behalf of my entire team on this, and probably on behalf of a lot of you guys as well, is the affordability needs to be addressed on 3 sectors. That is the construction cost, that's the that's the running cost, and that's the environmental cost. There is an environmental impact we can no longer deny. We can no longer push this ahead and kick the can down the road and go, yeah, that'll be all right. No, it won't be. We need to do something. We need to do this right now. So we've been carbon neutral, manufacturing carbon neutral for quite some time now. Now we've had our system analyzed and the certification is in progress, but it's looking very exciting, very promising, creating the first carbon neutral construction system. Real data analysis, checking for how far do the guys travel, how much energy is used to actually generate this product and deliver this on site. And that has to be within our means. If you believe in climate change or not, it just is what it is, right? So live within our means and tidy up our own mess. So we can't generate products and then not taking care of all aspects of that business. Construction waste, that's one of the ones that my team was scratching their heads over. We said, I want 1% or less construction waste. And in all credit to them, like they're such a determined, driven bunch of people. It's incredible. So they just kept optimizing and kept optimizing and changing and reinventing and recalculating till we got there. 0.97. 0.97% of the material used in production is our waste product. It is possible, right? I just reject the idea that someone says, well, that can't be done. That's too easy. That's the easy way out. All right, things are only impossible till someone does it. Speed is pretty obvious, right? We're talking about prefabrication. Prefabrication in a controlled environment, mass manufacturing allows us to dramatically reduce the construction time, and then with that overcome skilled labor shortage, and also create the ability to mass produce high performance panels, right? So cost effective, we wanted to match or beat any comparable product, nothing less. All right, there you have it. I'm done, people. I hope some of you are still awake. I haven't put anyone to sleep. So I'd like to just summarize what we've been talking about, okay? The topic is finding an affordable solution, right? So we looked at the marketplace, we've realized and admitted that there is a problem. We looked at the marketplace to see where the potential is, and we've found them. We've noted there's two market segments that we can tap into: the wannabe adapters and the followers. We noted, oopsie, sorry. We noted that we pressed the button too early. Sorry. We noted that we need to create a passive house, an affordable passive house solution before others come in, taking this market and reducing the price through cutting corners. Right? This will happen. I can guarantee you that. Okay. And then we spoke about the innovative, creative passive house logo panel, building panel, whatever you want to call it. We definitely need to come up with a different name for this. I've got an idea what we're going to call this. Right. So now I want to finish up and showing you some slides on how this can be done. There's my I had to bring this up again just to bore you a little bit with my fancy words. There's one item that we haven't spoken about. That's implementation. Okay, I said this just a minute ago. The implementation is going to be crucial. Okay, we can't just reject the idea and saying, well, this is all a bit too hard. We've never done it like this. This is all a bit difficult. Things are only impossible till someone does it. Okay, but I'm going to need your help. We need everyone to open our minds, rethink, refocus who we're dealing with, why we're doing this, and if we want to sustain in this market and grow, we have to work together on this. Okay, and this is exactly what I mean by this. The last stage, I'm definitely going to stop talking now, is that, gosh, we're ready. Right, we're ready to take Passive House to the next level. Some of you might think I'm early, but it doesn't make me wrong, right? We're better off acting now and getting onto this and being ready when we're hitting this point. And I'd like to invite all of you guys to come with us on that journey. Let's grow this market. Let's take Passive House to that next level, right? We're ready, willing, and able. Are you? Thanks for your time. And enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks a lot.